Hi, you're watching the program Moscow Mosaic. My name is Mike Gibson, and today we will tell you all about the friendship between the capital of Russia and Latin American countries. Stay tuned. This is going to be interesting. On today's program, how Moscow is strengthening cooperation with the countries of Latin America and the Caribbean Basin.
We maintain close contact with the embassies of these countries, and they support us in various economic, cultural, and humanitarian initiatives.
The 2024 Festival of Latin America and Caribbean Countries. What kind of program are the organizers preparing for Muscovites and guests to the capital?
This year we also have a very unique, interesting project called Fashion Across Continents, Russia and Latin America.
Where in Moscow can you take lessons in authentic Argentine tango?
And to the left, and to the right. Okay, good. And there we go.
Culinary masterpieces of Latin American cuisine. Where in Moscow can you try authentic Peruvian food?
Classic ceviche. Enjoy your meal.
Thank you. Ooh. In 2023, Muscovites and visitors to the capital were treated to a plethora of colourful events. One that stands out from the crowd is the week-long Festival of Latin American and Caribbean Countries, which took place in July. The Moscow city government, represented by the Department for External Economic and International Relations of Moscow and the Department of Culture, as well as the ambassadors representing the diplomatic missions of the countries participating, all supported this event and proposed to hold it on a regular basis.
The Festival of Latin American and Caribbean Countries is a highly vibrant and colorful event. Last year, nearly all the countries in the region participated at the event in Moscow's Hermitage Garden. The festival featured dazzling performances from dance groups, masterclasses, exhibitions of artists' work, and Latin American costumes. Muscovites had the opportunity to explore gastronomic traditions, and all of this contributed to creating a warm and wonderful atmosphere.
In 2024, the event's organizers plan to replicate the success of last year's festival. The next Latin American and Caribbean Culture Festival will be held in Moscow in July, but preparations have already begun. Let's find out what program the organizers are preparing for this bright event in the cultural life of the capital.
Michael.
Hello.
Welcome to the House of Latin America.
Thank you. It's nice to meet you. The House of Latin America has been operating in Moscow for over 3 years. The organization moved to this renovated 19th century mansion in 2021.
Michael, these are the flags of all the countries of Latin America. They are displayed in our main exhibition area. We use them to greet our guests, we take them out, and naturally we arrange them in the different rooms of our house.
In its 3 years of existence, the house has become a true focal point for diplomats, cultural figures, businessmen, and other representatives of the countries of Latin America and the Caribbean.
The idea of the Moscow government to create the House of Latin America in Moscow was wonderful. This house has truly become a hub where representatives of all the embassies of Latin American countries come together. In Moscow, we have 19 of them. The House of Latin America is undoubtedly the home of Russian-Cuban friendship. Here, we hold meetings with delegations from the Republic of Cuba, cultural events take place, and in general, this is a place where we can always gather to discuss our plans and, of course, to hold public events. The House of Latin America has been a real success. Now, since we arrived here, it has welcomed us and always collaborated with us. We believe it is very important for this type of organization to exist because it inherently contributes to bringing Latin American countries together in one organization. The House of Latin America, where we are located, is a place of power. And during our meetings here, new interesting projects are born. We network, form new friendly connections. And of course, a project of ours that has been in the conception stage for a while will soon come into fruition.
The House is also actively participating in organizing the upcoming Festival of Latin American and Caribbean countries, the presentation of which took place in early April.
We are grateful to our colleagues, the diplomatic corps of our foreign countries, who always come up with their initiatives, introduce Muscovites and guests of the capital to Latin American culture, to dancing, to energy, to unique cultural traits, and of course, to history. Therefore, it's their merit, as they are the ones who come up with these initiatives. Ultimately, they are open to bringing their culture to the masses of Moscow.
The presentation marked the beginning of extensive preparation for one of the main events in the cultural life of the capital. Now, working groups will regularly meet at the House of Latin America to discuss projects included in the festival program.
This year, we also have a very unique, interesting project called Fashion Across Continents, Russia and Latin America. We invite designers from Latin America, Russian designers from Moscow, from Krasnoyarsk, from South Ossetia, from Nizhny Novgorod.
The House of Latin America is a regular participant in various cultural events organized by the embassies of Latin American countries in Moscow. For example, on April the 19th, 2024, a solemn ceremony was held in the Gagarinsky district of the Russian capital to celebrate Independence Day in the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. The event took place at the monument to the national hero of Venezuela, Simón Bolívar, which was installed at the intersection of Vernadsky Avenue and University Avenue on July the 19th, 2023. The new 4-meter monument was presented to the Russian capital as a gift from the government of Venezuela. In 2010, the location for its placement was determined and the cornerstone was laid. The monument is a replica of the equestrian sculpture by the Italian master Adamo Tadalini in Caracas.
Last year, on the instructions of President Nicolás Maduro, the monument arrived in Moscow. Now, thanks to the collaborative efforts and willingness of the Directorate of Economic and International Relations, led by Minister Sergei Cheryomin, the architecture of this square, the pedestal, and all the logistical details were completed to facilitate the installation of this amazing monument.
Venezuela became the first Latin American country to have its independence recognized by Russia. This happened on February 17, 1857. Diplomatic relations between the USSR and Venezuela were established in 1945. After a brief hiatus from 1952 to 1970, contacts between the countries have continued to develop. Today, the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela and the Russian Federation are strategic partners, united by trade, economic, cultural, and humanitarian ties. Both states adhere to similar values in international relations and pursue independent policies respecting each other's interests. Today, Russia maintains partnership relations not only with Venezuela, but also with most countries in Latin America and the Caribbean. For instance, at the end of 2023, the first international parliamentary conference, Russia-Latin America, was held in Moscow, Organized on the initiative of the State Duma of the Russian Federation, the event brought together representatives of legislative authorities, leaders of various political parties, heads of civil society organizations, experts, and diplomats from most Latin American countries. The conference was inaugurated by the President of the Russian Federation, Vladimir Putin.
I want to note that Russia and the countries of Latin America share a lot in common in their views on international issues. Latin Americans have always sought independence, they have sought autonomy, and the history of your continent is full of vivid examples of this.
Following the four-day forum, parliamentarians once again noted the similarity in views on global affairs and emphasized the special role of interparliamentary diplomacy in addressing various political and economic issues. Vyacheslav Volodin, the chairman of the State Duma, proposed holding the Russian-Latin America Parliamentary Conference on an annual basis. The Moscow government began actively collaborating with the countries of Latin America and the Caribbean Basin over 5 years ago. Today, these relations are acquiring a special status despite the unfavorable external political circumstances.
Latin America is one of the key partners of the Moscow government. We have signed several cooperation programs. Countries such as Peru, Mexico, and the Dominican Republic can also be mentioned here. We have sent projects and cooperation programs to other Latin American partners which involve various aspects of interaction. This includes urban planning, ecology, humanitarian and cultural ties, as well as, of course, our collaboration in healthcare, education, and let's not forget, cultural exchanges. We believe that the countries of Latin America are extremely interested in collaborating with the Moscow government in implementing our pioneering smart and safe city programs.
Over the past 5 years, trade between Russia and Latin American countries has increased by 25%. Meat, exotic fruits, vegetables, seafood, textiles, these and many other products from Latin American countries can now be purchased in Moscow. One of the Russian companies dealing with products from this continent is Cafe Roraima, which produces and sells premium varieties of coffee and chocolate.
In Venezuela, we purchase the coffee, cocoa, and sugarcane. Venezuela is indeed famous for boasting some of the best cocoa in the world. I'm not exaggerating. It has been preserved there with some genetically pure varieties dating back to pre-Columbian times.
The company produces 100% organic chocolate using only natural ingredients from cocoa beans grown in Venezuela. Their product line includes over 50 varieties of dark, milk, and white chocolate with various fillings.
So it's well known that we make this chocolate using traditional recipes. And that, of course, means without any heating, without any additional chemical ingredients. All of this is conched for several days on stone mills, and we only add natural milk or sugar, and that's along with, let's say, some additives that could be natural nuts, maybe some berries, maybe some fruits.
We arrived at the Santiagos School. As you already understood from the name, they study Spanish here, which is spoken by most of the inhabitants of Latin America. That's why the Latin American Festival is taking place right here today. The Moscow School, named after Cervantes, was founded in 1959. In addition to the main curriculum, students here have many extracurricular activities and events in Spanish. For example, representatives of the embassies of Latin American and Caribbean countries often come to the school so that students can practice their knowledge of the Spanish language.
We aim to foster friendship with Latin American countries because it's a friendly continent to Russia, with many countries there. The most important thing is that they express a desire to cooperate with us.
One of the products of such a friendship is the Latin American Culture Festival, which takes place at the school annually.
The school considers its mission to be the dissemination of both the Spanish language and the culture of Spanish-speaking countries. This is how the idea arose to hold an annual festival of Spanish-speaking countries at the school.
The last time and the first time that I was here was last year during Christmas on December, and they had a very nice program about how Latin American countries celebrate Christmas. And it was very nice to see because all the children prepared information about the costumes and the traditions, the music that each country in Latin America has, and they made songs about it. It was very nice to see even Peruvian Christmas songs being sung here by the kids.
It's truly a pleasure to be at the Cervantes School. We know it's a very important institution for the dissemination of Spanish in Moscow and in Russia as a whole. And we believe it plays a very relevant role in strengthening ties between Latin America and Russia in general.
In Moscow, representatives of many Latin American and Caribbean countries live and work successfully. One of them is Omar Gonzalez, a Cuban who first came to the capital of Russia in 1979. After graduating from the San Alejandro Academy in Havana, the young artist successfully passed a competitive selection process in his homeland and was admitted to one of Russia's leading universities, the Moscow State Academic Art Institute, named after Vasily Surikov.
I have a lot of works related to Moscow. I have repeatedly worked with Pushkin's themes and participated in various projects.
From childhood, Omar Gonzalez dreamed of becoming a painter and started drawing at the age of 5. Today, his works are housed in state and private collections not only in Russia and Cuba, but also in many other countries. Despite living and working in Moscow for many years, Omar's homeland remains the primary source of inspiration for most of the artist's paintings. Omar considers the renowned 20th century Cuban master Wilfrido Lam, along with Manuel Mendiver, a contemporary artist and friend of his from Havana, as his teachers. He is also inspired by the works of great Russian icon painters.
When I came here, I immediately went to see the icons of Rublev, Theophanes the Greek, Dionysius. And by the way, when Henri Matisse came to Russia, he was amazed by the iconography here, the Russian iconography.
Omar Gonzalez's art studio is located at the heart of Moscow in the Arbat district. This space has become his second home. Here, the artist creates his works and welcomes guests.
Mike, you can also participate in the process of painting.
Awesome, thank you. An honorary member of the Russian Academy of Arts, member of the UNESCO International Association of Artists and People's Diplomat, Omar Gonzalez says that his heart belongs to two nations, Russia and Cuba. He loves Moscow, and through his paintings he tells Muscovites the story of his homeland and introduces them to the culture, customs, and traditions of Cuba. Latin American cuisine is very popular in Moscow today. There are several hundred restaurants and cafes with this type of cooking in the city. There is something for every taste and every budget. And today, we, together with you, will look at one of them. Hello.
Hello, welcome to our restaurant. Please follow me.
The restaurant of Peruvian Cuisine, Lima, opened in Moscow over 7 years ago. The first establishment under this name was located in the Concava metro area in the southwest of the capital. Shortly after, the restaurant moved closer to the center to Leningradsky Prospect.
These were gifts from our guests, different years. It was very interesting, and of course we accepted them.
The Lima restaurant occupies 2 floors. National Peruvian motifs are used in the interior design, including geoglyphs of the Nazca Plateau. This is one of the main attractions of the country. Although Peruvian cuisine is not yet very well known to Muscovites, over 60% of the restaurant's visitors are residents and guests to the Russian capital.
They really like Peruvian food. At first, they feel curious, they find it different and exotic. But when they try it, they become our regular customers. For them, it's something they try once, and then they come back for more. They can't resist it.
Peruvian cuisine is diverse. The menu features a variety of seafood. Peruvians also love meat. They even eat it for breakfast. Beverages occupy a special place on the gastronomic menu.
This is a black corn lemonade called chicha morada, which we brew ourselves for 5 hours.
Peruvian cuisine, for me, is absolutely new. So I have ordered a traditional fish dish. Hello. Could I please order a ceviche clásico?
Yes, of course.
Ceviche is one of the favorite dishes of Peruvians. It is made from fresh white fish and served in a marinade with the unusual name tiger's milk. In 2023, UNESCO declared Peruvian ceviche an intangible cultural heritage of humanity. This is really delicious. I really like it. Wow. When I think about Latin America, the first thing I remember is the Argentine Tango. I already learned to dance it in one of our earlier programs, but that was already 4 years ago, during the time of COVID. I think it's time we check to see if I've remembered how to dance the tango. The historical birthplace of the tango is considered to be Argentina. The dance originated in impoverished neighborhoods of Buenos Aires in the late 19th century and was different from what we see today. Initially, Argentine's elite considered the dance indecent. In Europe, the tango was also not recognized for a long time. But despite all the prohibitions, the fans of the passionate dance only grew in number. Today, the tango is danced practically all over the world. In 2009, the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, included the Latin American dance in the world's cultural heritage of humanity. The dance club, Planet Tango, was opened in 2009. It is one of the first schools of Argentine tango in Moscow and in Russia as a whole. Every week, more than 100 lessons are held here under the guidance of their best instructors. Among them is a maestro on an international level, Diego Arizaga.
In 1998 in Argentina, I was spotted by a Russian impresario. I was dancing in one of the most important shows in Buenos Aires, El Viejo Almacén, and he noticed me and offered to sign a contract, after which he invited me to come to Moscow.
Diego Arizaga has been involved in tango for almost 40 years. He is one of the most renowned instructors of this dance in the world. It was Mr. Arizaga who first introduced Muscovites to authentic Argentine tango in 1999. Naturally, I couldn't miss such an opportunity and asked the maestro to give me a masterclass.
The man's hand takes the woman's hand. The elbow points downwards, and the right hand offers the chest while adjusting the hips. There we go. Shall we try?
Okay. In Argentine tango, the man takes the lead in a pair, invites his partner to dance with his left hand, and leads her in time to the rhythm of the orchestra's sensual music.
And to the left. And to the right. Well done. And there we are. And...
You've been watching Moscow Mosaic. Watch our program and keep up to date with the most exciting events taking place in the Russian capital. I'm Mike Gibson. See you soon. Bye.